Welcome to Coach on the Couch. I'm your host, Jason Zaleski, here at Columbus Catholic High School today, visiting with boys basketball coach Joe Konieczny. Coach, let's just start off where we have started this for the past number of years. How many years you've been coaching, and what in the world keeps coming back every year?
Well, I think this is 17 at Columbus, and the thing that always keeps you coming back is the relationships with the players and the former players, and even more so just the love I have for the school. I really believe strongly in a small school, faith-based education, and the culture that's here on a daily basis is something that's very enjoyable to be around. I think it's a place where winning is kind of secondary. It's about more of the lifelong learning process and making sure we pick each other up, and I'll try to get to the end having done as much as possible. So the culture here is what makes me come back.
And it's one of the reasons, I think you just detailed every reason that I like coming here as well. So
I think it's a great place, and it's why you coach, but it's also where you coach. And I love the school, and I love the staff and the administration and the players, and just the fact that I really believe everybody has everybody's best interest at heart, and it makes it really enjoyable.
I would consider last year a successful season. You lost in a regional final here last year. I consider it a successful season, another winning season. One of the reasons those type of seasons, those add up over 300 career wins for you as a coach. Let's talk about last year a little bit. And at the risk of naming names, as soon as I say the first one, I'm always at risk of missing somebody. But you had some real impactful seniors on this team last year, one of which was Eden Jacobson. Really a hard worker, hustling. He got all those kind of dirty points, all the rebounds, all the stuff that you look for in an inside guy like that. What are some of your memories from that senior group last year as they were able to help you have another successful year?
Boy, I tell you, I'll remember them more as people. They were really good high school athletes, but they went through a lot their junior year. Their senior year with the whole COVID thing, having a shortened football season. All those guys were 2 or 3 sport athletes. Gage was a quarterback, played basketball, and a really good golfer. Eden Jacobson was player of the year, caliber in football. He was player of the year in basketball and ran track. Jaden Ennis was a soccer player, a basketball player, first team all-conference, and an all-conference baseball player. So all 3 of those young men made a huge impact on our school and on our athletic department. And I'm just going to miss them as people, because from a leadership standpoint, I don't know that you could have a better group. We went through some things like everybody did. A lot of schedule changes on short notice, the danger of quarantine. They wore masks all season. And if those guys hadn't demonstrated the leadership that they did, I don't know that it would have gone as smoothly. We played 23 games last year, and 24 is the max. And in a shortened season with COVID going on, to get 23 games in, their leadership had a lot to do with that.
We were, me and some of my staff were at a regional final game down in the southwestern part of the state earlier that day. So we were able to come back and enjoy most of the second half of the game here in the gym. The gym was full. And I remember one of my staff members leaning to me during a timeout or something saying, "Basketball's back." And what he meant was having all these people back in there. What was that like? As the playoffs went, WI said, okay, if you're going to host a playoff game, you got to let as many people in as possible. What was that like, finally getting the fans back in the gym last year?
Well, it was great. Number one, because it was safe. We did have a mask policy, and we followed all the protocols. So nobody could say that we had put anybody in danger. But right. I thought those young men deserved that atmosphere. One of the cool things, even though we lost, was after the game I got really nice emails from Coach Beck at Port Edwards and their athletic director thanking them for the atmosphere and the way it was done. So to get to play in front of a full house in a regional final atmosphere was something that they'll always remember. You only get so many opportunities to play in front of big crowds in an environment with a little bit of pressure on the line. We wish we had won the game, but like you said, we had a successful season. And that experience to get one game like that meant a lot to me for those young men.
Yeah, you mentioned Port Edwards. That's where you ended the season last year. It's where you began the season this year. You mentioned Shane and Justin, the AD and the coach over there at Port Edwards, friends of mine as well. What is that turnaround like? Where you get a chance, I guess, especially for you and the guys coming back, to kind of get that taste out of your mouth from last year. Was that any kind of a factor starting the year like that?
I bet you if you asked some of our players it was, but we talked a lot about writing a new book. This is chapter 1. It just so happens to be the same team that we played last year. We lost 3 really good players, and they lost a couple really good players as well. So different teams, same coaches, but any opponent we get to start the season at the Cranberry, I think, benefits us. That's why we go there. We get 2 games early to kind of see what we have going into the early part of the season. And they were definitely a quality opponent with a couple really nice players. The Gibbs boy, who's a junior, is fantastic, and some nice pieces around him. The coach's son, who's a freshman. So I thought it was a good test for us and a chance for us to kind of get our feet wet with a new team.
We'll turn now to preview this year's team. Again, we'll mention some names at the risk of me leaving some out, and it's never my intention. You went down to Wisconsin Rapids over the Thanksgiving holiday. You won that tournament. You had 2 wins on your belt, Port Edwards and Assumption. Just tell us, what did you find out? So you had the 2 weeks of practice and then those 2 games. What did you find out about your team that you thought about during practice and then saw them in action on the floor at Assumption High School?
Well, I think we knew that we had skill and some depth. Size is a concern. Eden Jacobson was a 15-rebound-a-game guy. We had Bryce Furlinger before that. And we have a rather small team this year. A lot of guards who can dribble and are quick, very unselfish, but we need to get some rebounds. And I thought Lucas Cracklow, the sophomore, in stretches really showed what he could do. We have to keep him out of foul trouble, but he's going to carry a lot of that burden that Eden left. Grant Olson, we knew what we were going to get, but did a phenomenal job playing out of position, doing whatever he's asked to do. And then the guards around those guys did a really nice job of sharing the ball and being unselfish. Didn't shoot it well in stretches, but we were able to hold the other team to 1 shot for most of the possessions, and that's definitely going to be key for us all season.
I want to talk about your seniors. First, though, you mentioned Lucas Cracklow. We got to see him during the soccer season, more of the multi-sport athletes you have here at the school. Sometimes in soccer, you don't get to know a lot of the personality. It's a large playing surface and a basketball floor. You get to kind of see everything no matter where you are sitting. Lucas got some fire. He's got some energy. Tell us about his development, because it seems to me that with the shooters that you have and the defense that you play, if you can get that low post guy going, that makes your team really difficult to figure out.
It does, and you're right. He's got a lot of competitive fire, and we have to channel that, and as a staff, help him channel that. But it really is nothing malicious when you get to know him. He just cares. I mean, I don't know that I've met a young man that cares that much about his role on a team. In soccer, they would lose a game and he'd give up 1 goal, and he's taking it personal. Like, he's personally responsible for the loss. And talking to Coach Edwards, it was the same thing. Like, this kid cares, and he holds himself personally accountable for the team's success, which is a fantastic quality to have. Now, that said, we can't let that get to the point where it's frustrating him and hindering his performance. And I think for the most part, he didn't let that happen the first 2 games, and it was exciting for us to see what he's able to do for our varsity team, because he's going to play a huge role.
Let's talk about this year's senior group. I think that's led by Sam Wilcheck. Our friend Mark Miller put out his list just the other day of the top 50 guards in the entire state of Wisconsin. Sam Wilcheck is a part of that. Now, that doesn't surprise me, probably doesn't surprise you. I'll tell the audience, I frequent the school here maybe more often than the front office would care to. They see me coming. And every time after school, if I was here for whatever sport or doing whatever, there was Sam in the gym. So it's not a surprise to me. He seems like a hard worker. But tell us a little bit about Sam Wilcheck, the person.
Boy, I don't know that I could describe him in just a few minutes. An unbelievable human being, really unselfish, and a relentless worker. Like you said, he's the kid that after practice, we had middle school practice last night from 7 to 9. So we had practice 3 to 5. At 9 o'clock, the light down there is on, and he's down there. He's down there getting his lift in, and has really dedicated himself to getting his body strong. He's probably the most physically fit kid we've had here maybe ever. And then the reps he's put into the gym from a ball handling and shooting standpoint, phenomenal. Played a lot of basketball this summer, but he's got that sense, and I think all of our seniors have that sense that this is our last shot at this. When I get done, I want to make sure that I squeezed every ounce I could out of it. And when Sam carries that on to the rest of his life, which I know he'll do, it's going to be quite the thing to witness, because he gets everything out of every opportunity he's given. And when he continues to do that at St. Thomas or wherever he goes, the sky's the limit for him as a person.
You've got other guys on the team, whether they're seniors or otherwise, that are obviously going to contribute this year. I wouldn't be able to hear the end of it if I didn't mention Charlie Moore, who is also helps us out from time to time. Who are some of those other guys, now that I've got Charlie's name out of the way, who are some of those other guys that we're going to hear about and learn about this year?
Well, we have 4 other seniors with Sam. Cole Noreen is going to be kind of a do-it-all, a rebounder, a defender. He can shoot it when he's open like he did against Assumption this weekend. Another really good kid, and like we talked about, multiple sport athlete. We have Cole Timler, who's a football, baseball, basketball kind of kid, a leader, just a hard worker. I think he's going to get an opportunity off the bench for us, and he's a smart kid, so whatever we tell him to do, he'll be able to fill right in any hole that needs it. And then Sammy Neville, another guy that got some minutes off the bench, can shoot it. And really just from a leadership standpoint at practice sets a tone for us from an effort standpoint this year that has been really great to see. And then our last senior is Derek Fieber, who has been injured /sick the beginning part of this season, so we haven't seen him, but hoping to get him back in the next week or two at full strength. Grant Olson's a junior. Now we talked about him, just do it all, play out of position. We ask him to defend a lot of the larger opponents we have. I think Cracklow can take some of the load off, but Grant's a type of young man that's willing to do whatever the team needs, and just a joy to be around. The other junior in our program is Isaac Moritz. He's going to get some JV time and suit up for the varsity. Hard worker, another great student athlete. And then our sophomore class, we've played 4 of them up to this point. Blake Jacoby had a fantastic weekend for us. Made the all-tournament team. A hard-nosed defender who again, like Sam, has really repped his offensive game into something that's quite impressive. Emmett Konieczny, who got a lot of minutes for us last year, can shoot it and really just fills the gaps. He's probably the kid that sees the floor well for us, that can distribute and make plays in the paint. We're going to rely on him a lot to find the open guy and to make sure that whatever we need offensively is done. Charlie Moore, like you mentioned it, can flat out shoot.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it. He's got a natural ability. He's one of those guys that is good at anything. Like if you're going to play him in darts or pool or anything, the kid just has a knack for competing and winning, and he's going to have a big year for us. And then we talked about Cracklow as well. But in addition to those guys, we got Cole Hilgeman, Alex Edwards, a really fantastic soccer player and a great athlete, Cy Becker, who does soccer and baseball as well, and Nathan Nemitz, who another sophomore that's a 3-sport athlete and extremely competitive. So those 15 I just mentioned have really raised the level of our practices from a competitive standpoint, and they love to compete. Whatever it is, if you put a ball in front of them, they're sports-minded kids who just love to compete, and it's made it a lot of fun to be around.
We'll begin to wrap up here, talk about some season goals, what you've got in mind for your guys, what you and your guys have already talked about. Before we get to those, I mentioned this to you last night. The first week of rankings came out. You come in at number 4. Newman Catholic comes in at number 10. The reason I bring the Cardinals into the discussion, they're in your same section. A lot of us on this side of the table happen to think that if the kids that you coach and the kids that Corey Marquardt coaches do what you tell them to do, it looks like a sectional semifinal. That's a long ways away, I know that. So between now and the playoffs, what are some of the goals that you and your guys have talked about?
Well, I mean, we don't talk necessarily about winning a conference championship or advancing to sectionals or even getting to state. I think that's something that, as a coach, I focused on too much early, the first few years. And we've kind of adopted the mentality of, 4th and goal every day, a football standpoint, where it's like, a lot of times in life, when there's a deadline or there's something that you have to do now, you really give it your best effort. And I think too many of our teams or too many of our student athletes, it's easy to fall into that's so far off, I don't have to prepare for that now. But we try to take the mentality, like if this was the day of a regional final or a game that our conference championship depended on, how hard would you play? And if you can do that on a Tuesday in November with no game the next day, and then do it again on a Wednesday and Thursday, and just keep that mentality of today's my opportunity, I think it could add up to something really nice in the end. And I think our boys have done a really good job of adopting that mentality of laying a brick today, laying a brick tomorrow, and at the end of the season, if we perfected each of those days, it could be something pretty special. That said, I think our conference is probably as good and as deep as it's been in a long time. I talked to Coach DeSmet at Loyal at the radio show the other night, and he said, and I agreed, I don't think the winner of our conference is going undefeated or even 1 or 2 losses. the champion could probably have 3 or 4 losses because you got Loyal, who's building something there. You got Owen Withey, who's got a ton of size. Colby's got a pile of athletes that like to run and get out. Neilsville's got some tremendous players. I mean, if you go down every team in our conference, there's something you need to worry about, and it's going to be tough each and every night.
Coach, we'll end with this. We'll let you give an advertisement to the people that are watching about coming down to the gym and supporting you and your guys wherever they may be. As I said, it's come one, come all now. Everything is come into the gym and support. And what we learned last year is that you and the kids really like having the people in the gym.
We do, and it was such a joy for me to go to soccer and volleyball, especially late in the season, and to see the large crowds and to see the intensity and the passion. And each of those teams got beat deep in the playoffs, and to see all the fans on the court after the game, letting those student athletes know that they appreciated their efforts and that they were proud of them. It means a lot to our student athletes, and they deserve it. These, like we talked about, I'm shocked sometimes at how involved our students are, whether it's athletics or band. We got a lot of kids who are 3-sport athletes. They're in the band, they're on student council, they're in the mission club. They are spreading themselves incredibly thin for our school and for the betterment of it. So for our fans to come fill the gym and to bring their young student who one day wants to be part of that would mean the world to us. So definitely get out and come to our games.
I completely agree. Get out and go to the games. I'll be at 2 of them this week myself, so we're very much looking forward to it. Coach Joe Konieczny, best of luck this year.
Thanks for everything you do, Jason. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. More Coach on the Couch coming up next.